I think we're live. Um,
Good.
Welcome, everyone. You'll just have to bear with me because I need to check whether we're actually live or not. But let's assume we are. Welcome again and to another Survive and Revive session. Today we've got Vara back, Vara Glover, who is a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. And she has a long and distinguished career in the travel industry as well. So she ticks every box, really, if you want to talk about stress. We're 7 minutes late, and I apologize because some more issues with Zoom. So we're on WebEx again today. Vara, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Richard. And hello, everybody, and welcome. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves out there. Oh, it's a beautiful blue, sunny day in Sydney. So wherever you are from around Australia, I hope it's a beautiful day for you there as well.
Don't forget the people that have tuned in are stressed.
Yes, we're going to address that. We are going to address
Okay.
stress.
All right. We have been fairly unprepared for this because we decided to just have a chat about it, didn't we? We've got some headings that we want to cover, but uh, I felt stressed most recently in the last few days. I've had my children with me, and one of the things, well, of course, they're always with me, but one of the things I wanted to ask you first of all is stress is different things to different people, right? So, um, one person's that we'd all consider to be massive in their life might be overshadowed by someone else's stress who um, it might be something minor. They could break a fingernail and be extremely stressed about that. So I guess where to start is, I'm telling you how to suck eggs here, but what is stress and what do you plan to cover today for people?
Yeah, so look, today's session, everybody, is just going to be about what stress is, defining what stress is, and how it comes to be, and the different parts in the brain that are activated during moments of stress. And then once we know that and we have a general understanding with our knowledge, then we can become more of a critical thinker, if you like, about why we're reacting in the way that we are. And then towards the end of our little chat today, we're going to go through some strategies of how you can best control your stress or manage your stress. So stress really, it's a good thing. I mean, people get overwhelmed by it, and that's when it can become a bad thing. But stress is designed to save us, if you like, to protect us. Um, so if you're asking Rich, what is stress? Stress is our body's way of reacting to a situation that we might feel uncomfortable in. So, first and foremost, the most important thing is to be able to recognize moments of discomfort and then how to overcome that discomfort. And that's just simply becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, if you like. Um, I know that that might sound easier said than done, but sometimes it's just going back to what we talked about in our first session, which is actually becoming a critical thinker. And to become a critical thinker, we need to understand how exactly the brain works. So, we have a little part of our brain called the amygdala, and that's responsible for our emotional state, if you like. And this links in really with another part of the brain which sends out message responses, if you like, to our emotional state. So if we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or some sort of fear or anxiety base, sometimes our palms will become a little bit sweaty, our breathing might become a bit more rapid, our heartbeat might increase. And these are all signs of stress. Sometimes we might break out even in rashes or things like that, which is not very pleasant for us as individuals, as well as, the perception of who we are as well. So when we recognize these things, how do we become a critical thinker? We need to sit back and realize and understand that stress actually has been designed or is part of our genetic makeup, if you like, to save our lives. And while this worked very, very well back in the Stone Age or in prehistoric times where, we may have been chased by a lion or a tiger, it doesn't serve us that well today. But yet our bodies responses haven't changed and developed as quickly as the world around us. So our brain is pretty much the same. Our reactions are pretty much the same as being chased by a lion or a tiger, but the stresses are not the same. We now live in suburban areas. We live in, um, places where we've got, infrastructure and development. We have jobs, we have families and security. And so while that lion or that tiger, if you like, isn't there, what has replaced it in today's day and age is an email, an urgent email, or a directive from a boss, or um, an expectation of self, or maybe it's a financial stress. How am I going to pay the bills? And especially, I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about today with COVID-19. I just turn on the news for 5 minutes and I'm bombarded with pictures of people lining up for financial support and help from the government, to be able to help us pay our bills, if you like, over the next few months, and to sustain our economy, which we know is suffering as a result of everything that's going on in the world around us. But should we really be letting our heart rate increase because of this? Or our breath becomes shorter? Or should we be letting ourselves break out in, rashes, or becoming obese, or eating too much? Or the truth is, no, we shouldn't be doing any of that. And whilst we might know this in our frontal lobe, in our intelligent part of the brain, we're not run by that part of the brain. We're actually run by the limbic cortex in the middle, the emotional part, which is near the amygdala. And so we need to become more critical thinkers, and really put things into perspective and say, all right, I understand why my body is reacting like this. It's reacting like this because I am in a moment of stress. However, is it the best way that I could be dealing with this situation right now? And more often than not, the answer to that question is going to be no, because we don't need our reproductive system to shut down, our eyes to focus in on something small, our heart rate to increase, our muscles to become tense so that we can run. We don't need to activate that same response because we are not being chased in the wilderness, by something scary that could essentially kill us or eat us. So once we get that and we understand that, then we can start to think about things more rationally and more logically. And we can implement a whole bunch of strategies, if you like, to circumvent these stress reactors, or this body's response to stress, being activated in the way that it is.
Just a question on, so I look at the news too much. I'm constant. I mean, 5, 6, 7 times a day, I'm checking about 8 different websites. I know it's bad. I shouldn't do it, but maybe it doesn't create immediate stress for me, but it's cumulative stress that's piling up on me, and I only feel it is on top of me. That you're looking at me like I'm nuts, but that's how I would
No,
define stress.
no, that is stress, but that is what you're describing is the straw that broke the camel's back, if you like.
Yeah.
So it's not actually one specific thing that might cause the reaction. It's an amalgamation of everything that is snowballed into something so big that we can't deal with it, or we can't react to it in a way that serves us well, rather than sort of sending us bonkers, if you like. The thinking and the overthinking and the overanalyzing and the creativeness, I suppose, of the human brain is extraordinary. And we all have this ability to create these scenarios that they're just not true. They're complete fabrications of truth. And the reason that we're able to do that is because we are creative, we are human. But it then goes back to being that critical thinker again and saying, right, okay, I've looked at this bit of news, I've read this on social media, I've spoken to my friend about this, and rather than letting it all build up, build up, build up, and then explode, becoming a critical thinker and parking it actually serves you well. But that's only when you start to question the information that's been presented to you. And that's why becoming a critical thinker is so important. So, for example, if we're looking at something on the news, for example, rather than just acknowledging that information, absorbing it, retaining it, and parking it, we can actually start to critically think it and critically analyze it and take away from it what works for us and disregard what doesn't work for us. Because if we don't know what indeed is going to happen in 6 months, in 12 months' time, why then should we or do we make up things in our own minds that aren't true? It's what we call in therapy as catastrophizing a situation. And when we catastrophize a situation, it then becomes overwhelming. So for a lot of people without work right now, especially in the travel and tourism sector, will I ever get a job again? Will tourism ever be the same again? How is my industry going to cope? How is my industry going to survive? What's going to happen with Virgin right now? We're seeing, is Virgin going to get bailed out or not on the news? Regardless of if Virgin gets bailed out or not, it's an external factor. We can't control it in any way, shape, or form. All that we have control over is our reaction to it. So it's becoming comfortable with uncertainty and becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, with not knowing what the future holds, but just knowing that we have the resilience to be able to cope. And therefore, silencing all those inner thoughts that don't serve us well, that don't work for us, that cause stress, that cause overwhelm, that cause the pressure, high blood pressure, anxiety, sweaty palms, rapid breathing, shallow breathing, whatever it might be for yourself. And you can do this using a number of different strategies.
I was going to come on to that because the speculation about first of all, tourism, but also outbound travel. I read something about possibly no flights out of Australia until next year, and that makes, oh my goodness. Even my wife, who works in hotels, mentioned that. And there's worry for everyone. So, are you saying that comes back down to the critical thinking again?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we can't do anything about that, can we? So if flights are not going to
Yeah,
be open back up until December, which I've also heard similar sort of
yeah.
stories, first of all, we don't know if it's true or not.
Mm,
Second of all, if it is true, what can we do about it? Is there anything that you or I or anybody that works in travel and
mm,
tourism can do about that right now in this moment in time? In our roles, maybe at a CEO or a senior executive, maybe they can negotiate something. But at our roles, if there's nothing that we can do about it, what good is
mm,
activating stress for us? What is that doing for us? Is that being of any benefit at all? Because activating stress is a mechanism to save our life. And if the lion or the tiger is now the industry not having any outbound or inbound flights until December, if that's replaced that, is it really a matter of life or death for us right now? Are we literally going to be eaten, if you like, by this catastrophe that may or may not happen?
very powerful today. It's very like, oh yeah, you're right. Yes, you're right.
But if
I'm
but if
feeling.
that answer but if that answer is no, Richard, if that answer is no, then why do we let ourselves react in the same way
True.
that we would if we are being chased by a bloody saber-toothed tiger? Right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
We do this because it's our natural body's response, but it doesn't serve us well in any way, shape, or form. And therefore, we need to learn to park it and focus on what we do have control over, which is our emotional state and our mental well-being in this moment in time. That's all that we have control over. We don't have control of any external influences.
Is that on a micro level? Is that a daily thing? So am I reassessing every day? Why is it always about me? Let's make up some mythical lady called June, right? So is she? I don't know why June, um, but is she? There's things that come along every day, so it's something you have to constantly remind yourself about all day, every day. Yes, it's not some magical technique to switch off those thoughts.
Oh, look, there's different strategies. I mean, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist, and hypnotherapy definitely helps in these sorts of circumstances because you can actually change neurological pathways of thought. So
Right.
there are things that you can do, and you can seek professional help and speak to people that there's counsellors out there that can help. There's psychologists out there that can help. There's lots of different, meditation sometimes helps people.
Mm,
Exercise is brilliant. Music, anything that sort of distracts the mind from the snowballing effect, if you like. But look, the most important thing is just to be able to recognize the thought, because sometimes stress is good. Sometimes it gets us motivated, it gets us pumped up, it gets us to do something, hit goals, be creative. Have that motivation to get up in the morning and go for that run, or like what you're doing with these fantastic seminars. Um, you know, Anything that creates motivation is a good thing. It's when it becomes debilitating that it then becomes a problem. When the stress becomes too much, that we lose our mojo, we can't be bothered, we lose energy, drive. It starts to affect our health. It starts to affect the way that we think, our perspective. Um, just things like that, really, to be honest.
you wanted to cover fear as well. Have you done that, or is there anything you wanted to say about fear? Because that was one of the three topics.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to talk about fear because I feel like it's all ingrained in stress. I think that the stresses, um, stress when it's activated normally comes from fear.
Mm,
And fear, well, like I've just been talking about, is it can be a good thing. It can save our lives.
mm,
Pardon me. It can get us motivated. It can help us to achieve our goals or to conquer great heights. But on the flip side of that, fear can also be debilitating, can it not? And that's when we really need to reevaluate. What is the purpose of that fear? So the fear right now for a lot of people is a fear of judgment, a fear of failure, a fear of
uncertainty as well.
uncertainty. Yes, absolutely. Um, And so, whilst I've worked with many people in the travel and tourism sector around their fear of flying, all of a sudden it's not about, I'm worried about getting on a plane and the plane, falling
Will
out of
there be
the
a
sky.
plane?
It's
Yeah.
switched to will there be a plane? You hit the nail on the head. But yet it can still activate the same response and needs to be managed in the same way.
So strategies around doing this is where I wanted to get to. Let's talk about real strategies that people can do right now to cope with stress and handle this in a better way.
Absolutely. Okay, so I wrote some of them down because I had so many that I didn't want to forget any.
You should know them off by
um,
heart, surely. No, you
Pardon?
should know them off by heart, surely. That's your.
Yeah. But I just didn't want
Oh, go
to
on.
forget any, so
Yeah, go.
I'll refer to my notes. So the first one is identify what your priorities are for the day. So this is something that I learned back actually in travel and tourism. So I was in the industry for 15 years, and I had various different roles in sales and senior sales positions. And I remember one gentleman coming and presenting to myself and my sales team, and it was a fantastic strategy around big rocks and little rocks, and being able to identify what your big rocks are and what your little rocks are, and parking the little rocks or putting them lower to your priority list and having your big, hairy, audacious targets, goals, rocks up at the top. And so when you wake up in the morning, tackling those first, they might be the hardest. They might be the ones that we don't want to do, or that are really hard, or, you know, we keep procrastinating them, if you like. But if you
Like
tackle
the
them,
exercise thing, for example.
it might be an exercise thing. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
get up in the morning and do that run, or,
Okay. Yeah.
get on that bike, or whatever it might be. Um, and then the little ones, the checking of the emails and the keeping the inbox up to date, and those ones, sometimes they're seen as procrastinators of time. Yes, they have to be done, but they're a small task that we can spend all day in, whereas
Mm.
really we should allocate just a couple of hours or a little bit of time to those tasks. So identifying your priorities for the day and ranking them. And yes, as you rightly said, Richard, prioritizing exercise and also relaxation is really important as well, because it helps to put things in perspective by releasing different endorphins in our body. And we've all been told this a million times, how important exercise is for us, but it does help us put things into perspective. It clears the head, just going for a walk, getting some fresh air, some fresh breeze, a few deep cleansing breaths, any type of breathing exercises. There are some fabulous apps out there that you can download for relaxation. Headspace is one that springs to mind, which I personally love and used to use it actually quite often.
I'm writing
Um,
that down.
yeah, Headspace. I was a head of sales for a number of different travel companies, and I would find myself overthinking things a lot when I went to sleep. Um,
Mm.
Targets and teams and strategy, and the brain wouldn't stop, wouldn't switch off. So one of my strategies there was to download Headspace and to just have that to help me sleep. And if you do find yourself waking up in the middle of the night because of stress or any anxious thoughts, a notepad and a pen by your bedside table, jot it down, get the thought out of your mind onto the bit of paper. There you go. You've got one.
I carry one at all
Um,
times. Yeah.
yeah, and then just park it, put it back down on your bedside table, and once that thought's out of your mind, you won't worry about forgetting it, and you can address it in the morning. Another strategy is saying no. Um, when we feel overloaded or overwhelmed by other people's expectations. So, generally, there are two reasons why we feel stress. It's because of the expectations of others or the expectations of self. And we can deal with both of them once we identify what it is. So if it's an expectation of others, that stems down to a fear of judgment. You're worried about what others think about you, how you're perceived, um, and once you feel like you're taking on too much, you can say no. You can actually say no. I can't do that right now. I'm focusing on something else, or give people realistic expectations and deadlines for when you can fulfill the tasks that are being asked of you. Um, or if it's if it's an expectation of self, just measure up and analyze whether you think your expectation of self is fair or not, and how you compare that. So a lot of people that, for example, run perfectionism in all aspects of their lives. Now, it might work really well to be running perfectionism if I'm a sales manager and I need to ensure that my numbers are accurate and my strategy is accurate and I'm reporting correctly. That might be an area where perfectionism works well for me. But for me to then carry perfectionism into the rest of my day, and when I'm cutting up my carrots for dinner, you know, that's too much. Just too much perfectionism. Just chop them and chuck them in the pan. So that's something else. Practice saying no, or identifying where your overload comes from. Another strategy is identifying and accepting change. And I think that is what a lot of people are struggling with at this present moment in time. Our world is going to be different. Our industry is going to be different. Um, the jobs that we do within our industry might be different. Um, But whatever that different is, it's okay. We have adapted for many years and we will continue to adapt and grow and learn. And it's that recognition of change and the embracing of change that helps us get there. The other thing to acknowledge is the past is in the past and holds no place in the present and certainly no place in the future.
Say that again, please.
The past is in the past and has no place in the present and certainly no place in the future. It's a common phrase I use in therapy, and it makes us really think because you can't argue with it. The past we can learn from, sure, but if we dwell on the past, if we want things to go back to the way that they were, or have that same comfort and that routine, if you like, that we always had, well, the truth is, it's highly unlikely that that's ever going to happen. But what will happen is change, and our actions in this present moment in time will dictate what our future looks like. So I know you've been holding some fantastic seminars with HR and recruitment, creating your own personal brand. These are all things that you can do now to help look after yourself for the future, along with, of course, the exercise, writing up your priorities for the day, practicing saying no when you're getting overwhelmed. All of these things help you to create the future that you want to create. If we spend too much time in the past, unfortunately, what that leads to is depression, which is not where any of us want to end up. If we spend too much time in the future, we end up getting ourselves into a place of anxiety, which is also where we don't want to end up. The truth is that we only have this moment in time right now, this present moment. 1 second, gone. It's never going to come back again. No point in dwelling about it.
This is like
and some strategies for that is to learn to forgive as well. Forgiveness is a very big part of.
Don't really do forgiveness. Yeah, I'm joking.
Sorry?
Don't worry.
You don't do forgiveness. Please forgive me.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Carry on.
What else was there I wanted to talk about? No need to rush. Some people, stress is activated when we rush. Some people try and do a lot of different tasks at one time. And while multitasking is, fantastic and good if you're able to do it, it also makes you less efficient. So if we focus on one thing, and that again goes back to our priority list, our priorities for the day, just tackle one thing, one or two things, tick them off the list the next day. What are the next 2 or 3 things that you want to tackle today? And then you feel like you're achieving and you're kicking goals and you're doing something meaningful and successful. Every day, every single day, we must wake up with a to-do list, prioritize it, and at the end of the day, reflect on the to-do list and tick off what we've done. Be proud of those achievements, those accomplishments. Let our bodies rest, rejuvenate, restore, repair, and then wake up in the morning. And if there's anything that is left over from the previous day's list, they can go to the top of the new day's list, and then we can add a few more things to the new day's list.
That's particularly relevant to now because the days are just rolling over from one to the other, and it's not. I can't always tell you what day of the week it is. You certainly can't remember 3 days ago. So I like the idea of making that list. That's one of the things I'm making a note of because I'm not doing that. I think I will do that, even if that's tidying a sock drawer or whatever it is.
Whatever it is, it can be the smallest things like tidying the sock drawer. It's literally about a sense of achievement and a sense of accomplishment that we've done
Mm.
something. So I might say, right, today I want to start for my business doing group therapy sessions. So I'm going to start, I'm going to spend 2 hours today dedicated to how I'm going to promote or facilitate that. And then I'm going to spend an hour cleaning out my my lovely kitchen cabinet. And then I'm going to spend a half an hour, going for a walk along the beachfront to clean my head. And then another few other things I might need to do. And then at the end of the day, when I tick off I feel like I've achieved and I've done something with my time for that day.
Got a couple of comments. One mostly, I'll just read it out from Melissa. It says, I'm talking to lots of people at the moment who are at a crossroads with their career.
Mhm.
With lots of redundancy and a chance to try a different pathway, what's the best advice of how people should be able to handle the stress involved in trying something new and taking the leap of faith in themselves?
Do it. Just go for it. I mean, you know, by going out and trying something new, we're just learning. Um, and one of the most important things for all of us to recognize is to realize that we all have the ability to learn. And it doesn't matter if we're a primary school student, a high school student, a university student, or if we haven't studied in years. We all have the ability to learn. And there was always a moment in time when we didn't know, the moment in time during when we were learning, and then the moment in time after. I've been speaking to a few clients over the last couple of weeks, and one just springs to mind. And she sort of said to me, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by everything that's going on in the world." And she was talking about learning something new and getting some new skills, but wondering how she's going to do that. And I just asked her a pretty simple question. I asked her, before you became a general manager, were you a general manager? And she sort of said, well, obviously I wasn't. Like, right, okay. So now you're a fantastic general manager of a business, but what did the time look like before you became the general manager of that business? So, oh, okay, well, I applied for the role and I did some learning along the way and growth and development. And then I was in the role for, 10 years. And then I decided to move on from that role and do something different. Okay, so stop there for a moment. Talk to me about why you moved on when you were so good at doing that, you were comfortable there, and then you decided to move on out of one sector and into another sector, but using the same skills. Why did you do that?
Because you wanted the challenge, I guess, is the answer, right?
Correct. She wanted something
And why
new,
walk
something
away from
different.
it? Bringing out my inner psychotherapist, why walk away from a challenge now? Is that?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all got these challenges, and the fact is, we all just need to remember that we all have the ability to learn. And some of us may have not have learnt for a while. Some of us might have even been school days that we actually picked up a textbook or, but it doesn't matter. We have the ability to. And it's not just textbook learning that we've been learning throughout our whole lives. It's other learning. It's negotiation. It's technology. It's interaction. It's it could be it could be a sport, it could be cooking, it could be somebody's found a
Mm.
passion in something that they never knew that they always thought they could never do this, and then all of a sudden they've opened up a recipe book and found a new passion or a new hobby and have learned something new. So it's that you need to tap into, Mel and Rich, and obviously the people that are listening. um, the ability to learn. Can we? Yes, we can. How do we do it? Just one foot in front of the other.
Okay, good. That's quite a good place to end. Is there anything else on your list that you wanted to talk about today, or should we'll save it for the next
No,
time?
look, that's pretty much it. I did write down that I wanted to talk about pausing and enjoying breaks.
Yeah.
Enjoy a Kit Kat. They
Mhm.
should have paid me for that. But laugh, read, chat, all of these things are important. And then just the ability to be able to reframe your own personal statements when you identify what your own personal stresses are.
Mm.
Just reframe the statement to something that serves you well rather than holding you back.
I'm looking at my notes just briefly. I've got structure. Things for me is to structure my day. The past is the past, which is just, yeah. Like the to-do list and a list of achievements as well, and to reflect. I think it's great. Yeah, let's leave it there, shall we? Because I want
Lovely.
you back rather than exhaust you today. Well, I think we can get you back on various subjects you've mentioned to me in the past. Um,
Sure.
Thank you, really. It's great. So I'd like to just thank Melissa Shembry, who's helping me out behind the scenes, also everyone else, Declan, Jess, Lisa, Anya, Luke, and also to Travel Daily and Travel Bulletin, who are supporting what we're doing and are terrific. We'll be back again tomorrow with Melissa. We'll be talking about LinkedIn again. Vara, I'm going to get. What can we talk about next time? I'm putting you on the spot here. For
Oh
these
gosh,
free sessions. Come on,
sorry,
come
what
on.
was that?
For what?
There were
What's
so
the next?
many things. I'll come back to you with something. It'll be good.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, stick with us. There's one question. A man wants to. I think a man wants help opening an online travel agency. Have you got any tips? I'm joking. I'm joking. I think he may have slightly got that wrong. I'm going to reply, and we can actually help him with an online travel agency. So um, watch this space. But anyway, thanks, Vara, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure once again. Take
And
care now.
lastly, how do we contact you?
Oh, you can just email me. It's info at
Yep.
mind-coach.com.au or telephone 0412 597 741.
Or questions at thetravelindustryhub.com. All right, thanks.
Take care.
Thank you.